I'm in my mid-30s now, and I've been addicted to gooning since I was 12 years old. And there's definitely some downsides. It has had a negative impact on my life in some ways, but honestly, it's not that big a deal. Back when I first started exhibiting the behavior that would eventually come to be known as gooning, there was no such thing as streaming videos online, so I would actually have to download videos on peer-to-peer networks like LimeWire or Kazaa, so it would usually take hours for a video to finish downloading, and you wouldn't even know what the woman in the video looks like until you finish downloading it because there were no thumbnails or anything. So gooning wasn't really an epidemic back then like it is now, just because, it actually took a bit of dedication and a little bit of computer literacy to access your gooning materials. So I think I have a kind of unique perspective on the whole gooner epidemic because I was probably one of the first gooners. I am the prototypical gooner. I was gooning long before anyone called it gooning. And back then, the common sentiment online was that watching those types of videos was completely harmless because being able to download videos like that was a relatively new thing at the time, so people just kind of assumed, well, this kind of content has been around since the dawn of time and it never really hurt nobody. So I think most people just didn't really consider the fact that this stuff had suddenly become a whole lot easier to access. And I remember when I was like 11, my mom had bought me a book about going through puberty, and it had a whole section in it about how engaging in self-love is just totally harmless and it's completely normal. So at the time, I really had no concerns at all about what I was doing. I didn't feel any guilt, I didn't feel any shame. I just thought it was a nice way to spend the afternoon. It felt good, I enjoyed it. What's wrong with that? Well, as it turns out, there's a lot wrong with that. For one thing, doing any kind of addictive dopamine rush activity like that frequently at such a young age, as it turns out, that shit literally rewires your brain. It turns that thing you're doing into something that your brain thinks it actually needs for survival, like it's food or sleep or something. And it's really, really hard to quit doing something when your brain is making you crave it like you can't live without it. I actually read about a study one time where they found that people that start smoking during adolescence are something like 10 times less likely to ever be able to quit compared to smokers that started as adults. And gooning is a lot like smoking. It's a lot like smoking in other ways too. You always hear smokers saying that they don't even enjoy it anymore, and yeah, I definitely feel like that sometimes when I'm deep down in the cave getting my wrist workout in. But you know what? None of that is ruining my life. It's not even remotely close to ruining my life. And in fact, I think that's actually just an extremely privileged perspective to have. Like from where I'm standing, if you think being a gooner is ruining your life, then you must be living a pretty damn good life. And like I said, there are clear downsides to gooning. It's not harmless, I know that. But from the way people talk about it, you'd think it was giving people brain cancer or something. And honestly, I don't even care that I'm a gooner. It's a minor thing. It's really not a big deal. But you know what is ruining my life? Being ugly as shit. That's what. Being so ugly, I can't even imagine what the touch of a woman feels like. Talking about being so goddamn ugly, a stray dog wouldn't even want to eat after me. I'm sub 5. Gooning isn't ruining my life. Having a tiny ass cranium is what's ruining my life. My eyes being too close together is what's ruining my life. And I'm not only sub 5 in looks, my personality is sub 5 too. I damn near have a panic attack just trying to order fast food at the drive-thru. I wish that being a gooner was ruining my life. Because they say one of the biggest problems gooning causes is that it desensitizes you down there and it warps your perspectives on relationships and stuff like that. And man, all I gotta say is, if you consider those to be serious problems, then you truly are living a life of privilege. Because I agree that gooning does lead to a loss of sensitivity, but why would I even care how sensitive my snake is? He ain't even eating no mice, you know what I mean? And honestly, I don't think I have any kind of dysfunction down there, but it's not like it matters anyways, because I'm never going to get to use the thing for its intended function anyway. But back to what I was saying, if you think loss of sensitivity and unrealistic expectations for your romantic partners, if things like that are ruining your life, then I'm happy for you. I mean that. I am happy for you, genuinely. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk. I'm just saying, obviously, your life is pretty good if you're able to successfully find romance. And don't get me wrong, I understand how, if you are a normie sex haver, then you probably would feel like those things are really detrimental to your life since you've never known a worse life. And I know there's plenty of sub 3 guys out there that probably think I have it made as a sub 5. I get that. It's all relative. But I'm the one talking right now, and from my perspective, gooning is not that big a deal. But having crippling social anxiety paired with a skull the size of a fucking lemon, now that is a big deal. That is life ruining. But look, having said all that, I know gooning isn't harmless, even for me. And actually, for some sub 5 men that are less emotionally stable than I am, gooning could actually have much more serious side effects. Like I've heard of cases where gooners have become PDF files or started to have thoughts like, oh, well, maybe the reason I find women so appealing is because I want to be a woman. And that shit is truly disgusting. I mean, one of those things is disgusting, the other one is just evil. But yeah, so it's not like I would recommend gooning to anybody. Even though, if gooning turned you into a PDF file, then, I don't know, was it really the gooning or is that just something people use as an excuse? Because I don't know if I really believe that. Because after more than 20 years of gooning, nothing even remotely close to that has ever crept into my brain, but who knows, maybe I just have a really strong constitution. For me, the biggest way gooning has affected my life is just that it's a massive waste of time. Back when I was actually still on the giant hamster wheel we call society, back when I was actively attempting to better my life by going to college and lifting weights and trying to further my career, back then I would often end up on a random Tuesday night wasting away like 2 hours straight on the hub just trying to find the perfect video. And when I finally finished, I'd just be sitting there looking at my browser window with like 30 tabs open, and it's just like, damn. I feel like I was doing research or something, Because when I was in school, it was kind of a similar thing, how I'd be in a flow state working on a homework assignment, then I'd finish and look up at my browser window and realize, damn, there's like a billion tabs open right now. And I don't know which one I've actually spent more total time on, I made a video some of you might have seen about how I spent like 2,400 hours on my master's degree, but if you include the time I spent on my bachelor's degree, the calculation would probably be more like 8,000 to 9,000 hours. And that's a lot of time, but I probably have spent at least that much time just zonked out, just in straight up zombie mode, just gooning, you know what I mean? It's brutal. Because when you're in the midst of a goon session, it's just like the passage of time is distorted. And again, it's just like when you're working on a difficult fluid dynamics problem or something, because you're just so intensely focused, it's like the concept of time just ceases to exist. When you think about it, gooning kind of is a fluid dynamics problem, but anyway, yeah, it's brutal. But really, in my case, even that, all that time wasted, it didn't really matter because if I wasn't gooning, I probably would have just been wasting that time anyway, watching movies or something. Oh, and another thing I wanted to say about gooning, one thing that actually has affected me negatively, I think just sitting in my computer chair like that, like leaned back but with my neck hunched forward, that shit has probably done irreparable damage to my spine. I actually do have chronic lower back pain, and I've always attributed it to doing heavy squats and deadlifts with bad form back in the day, but maybe gooning had something to do with it too. It probably did. But even if I had severe back pain from gooning, even that isn't really a big deal. I can deal with physical pain, especially if it's constant, because at some point you just get used to it. So unless back pain is what's preventing women from wanting to touch me, who cares? And I mean, the lack of intimate physical contact with a woman, that's not actually what hurts so much. I know that's the thing I always go back to, but that's just a proxy for what the real issue is. What it actually is that's the real source of pain, it's the lack of love and affection. Because I could go out and hire a woman of the night any day of the week if all I needed to do was, put my right foot in and put my right foot out and shake it all about. Well, I mean, actually, I probably couldn't do that because of my social anxiety, but I mean, theoretically speaking, I could hire a professional floozy to take care of me if that's all I needed, but there's really no use in that because what I actually need in my life is affection. I need love. And whether or not I spend 7 hours a day opening and closing 45 incognito tabs every 5 minutes on the hunt for the perfect scene, it just doesn't matter. My problem is that I'm ugly, inside and out. Gooning is not the problem. And it's funny I'm making this video now because actually I haven't gooned at all in at least like 6 months. Ever since baby's been here, I don't have time to goon. Like it literally wouldn't even be possible because he has to eat like every 2 to 3 hours and I have to hold him while he naps, which is like every 2 hours or so. And I have to change his diaper at least every 2 hours, and when he's awake, I have to play with him or read to him or whatever else because, you can't just let a baby sit there with nothing to do all the time. You gotta make sure they're learning and experiencing new things and all that. And even when there is someone else, like my mom or my aunt, watching him for a few hours, I gotta use that time to sleep. And that's probably why my videos suck now that I think about it, because I'm so sleep deprived, I'm not even able to use like 50% of my brain power. But yeah, to anyone out there that thinks gooning is ruining their life, please, I'm begging you, please find some mad scientist or something, or I don't know, a freaking genie or something, just anything that can help us switch lives with each other, because if gooning is actually a big problem in your life, then I want that life. Please, switch lives with me, because you're living in heaven as far as I can tell. Whatever.